guys, so it's me, Nicolette Mashile, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about savings. And I'm going to be giving you some ways in which I save for some of the things that I want and some of the things that I need, right? But I'm also going to share a very, very important secret when it comes to savings. But remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSCA. And also, I just want to let you know that this video is brought to you by Knorrox. They currently have a competition right now, running right now, where you can win a whole cow as an investment with livestock wealth. So for you to enter that competition, you need to buy yourself a 12-pack of Knorrox stock cubes and 400 grams of soup, and then you can enter the competition. As easy as that. If they've run out of the 12-pack, you can buy 2 of the 6-pack stock cubes and your 400 gram of soup, and you can enter the competition and stand a chance to start your investment journey. But let's wind it back to savings and how you can save. But before I get into that, I want to tell you guys a very big secret, an enormous secret when it comes to savings. There are 2 main ingredients when it comes to or 3 maybe. 3 main ingredients when it comes to savings. The first one is the fact that there is no magical way to save. There is no hidden secret when it comes to saving. I get a lot of people that send me emails asking, hey Nicolette, I want to start saving. I think I've been wasting a lot of money. I don't see where my money goes. I think I should start saving. Please, can you help me? And I'm like, there is no secret when it comes to saving. I think a lot of people are expecting some fancy, magical way. No, there isn't. That's number 1. Number 2, savings takes discipline. Number 3, saving needs a financial goal. You've got to have an end, because if you don't have an end, it is going to be very difficult for you to save. Actually, there's 4. The third one is the 4th one, maybe the 3rd, I don't know, whichever one that comes after on the list. You need to actually, saving is not just about saving money. Sometimes there are other ways in which you can save, and a lot of us get mind-boggled with the idea that there needs to be a certain amount of money that we are putting away, which leads me to the 3rd one on the list, or the last one on the list, is the fact that savings is not about the amount. It's not about the monetary figure. It is more about the principle of saving. And last but not least, I think I said the last one, I lied. Savings is one of the steps when it comes to investing. It's a very important step when it comes to investing. If you do not know how to save, you will never be able to invest. Remember that investing is a long game. So if you don't know how to save like a 10 rand for 5 months or for 12 months, there's no way you're going to be able to put away 100,000 rand for 5 years. It's impossible. So it is very important for you to have a savings culture before you can start investing. All right. So let's talk a little bit about about savings. So for instance, I have a Standard Bank account, a check account. It's not my primary account, but I do have a check account, and some of my additional payments or my additional jobs. So for instance, Generations pays me into the Standard Bank account. YouTube pays me into the Standard Bank account. And all the monies that come in from that account or come into that account, 30% of that amount of money go into my Pure Save account. And that Pure Save, I've nicknamed that account to Ford Mustang GT 5.0 liters. That is my financial goal for that specific account. Now, obviously, all our financial goals might not look the same. So your financial goal could be saving 100,000 rand to put down as a deposit for a new apartment or a new property. Someone might be saving 50,000 rand to be able to buy an import an embroidery machine so that they can start their business. Somebody, it might be saving 15,000 rand so they can buy themselves a return ticket to go to Thailand, to Bali, to the Maldives, to Malta, to Mauritius, to Madagascar, to wherever, the Seychelles. Somebody, they could be saving 5,000 rand just so that they can register their daughter, or they can register for a course at a UNISA or any other university. So all our financial goals look different, but the beauty about saving is that when you finally reach your goal and you can take that money, it feels like guilt-free money, especially if your saving goal or your financial goal looks like mine and it's actually a want and not necessarily a need, right? So you've got to have that financial goal. You've got to know where you are saving. That's number 2, right? And then you've got to actually have an end goal. So don't save for the sake of saving. Because a lot of people say to me, why am I saving? Why do I have to save? And I'm like, because it's the right thing to do. But that's not a good enough answer. People need to have a tangible reason as to why they are saving. So you've got to create that tangible reason for yourself, right? So let's talk a little bit about savings, right? As I said, my biggest saving strategy is that I save 30% of all my additional incomes into a specific account because I'm saving for a certain financial goal. So that's number one. Number two, say you could have a savings for an emergency. Now, Olivia Pope, stop. You are not the fixer. You are not going to be able to fix everybody's problem with money, especially in family gatherings where people are talking about a family issue. They're talking about Banbani being pregnant. Here you are. Oh, no, I'll throw the baby shower. Put your hand down. Ain't nobody asked you if you've got money to solve the problem. Not everything needs money to be solved. Put your hand down. But I can assure you that if you put your hand up and say you've got money, somebody's going to find another problem that needs financial assistance. So put your hand down, go sit at home and define what is actually called a financial emergency, so that not everything that you have that seems like an emergency needs a financial response. So you've got to write down what you deem as an actual emergency that is big enough for you to be able to go and dip into your bank account. Now, what constitutes or what are the ingredients of a good emergency account? First and foremost, guys, it's not some account that is sitting with some sort of a bank. It's any account, right, where you can actually save your money. So the first thing you need to do is to be able to actually save that money as an emergency, right? For emergencies. You have to define what emergencies actually are. And then what you do is you need to open that account separate from your transactional and everyday account so that you actually minimize the type of access you've got to that account. Because if you are like me, in the middle of the night, you are busy transferring money just so you can order a cupcake from Andicio's. And I mean, really, it's just not worth it. So make sure that that money is out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind. You will be shocked at how amazingly important this is. I did this with social media apps and delivery apps. So I deleted my Uber Eats, I deleted my Mr. Delivery. I switched off notifications of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and WhatsApp. And I only went into those apps when I wanted to go into them. And I actually somehow stopped ordering food from Mr. Delivery and Uber Eats because now those apps were out of sight, out of mind. I ended up cooking, right? Which leads me to no, I'm not done with the emergency account. The emergency account also needs to beat inflation. So whatever return you're getting on the emergency account, make sure that it beats inflation. So the return on it needs to beat inflation, right? At the very least, because your 1 rand today, you want it to be 1 rand again tomorrow. Remember that with inflation, your 1 rand today will be 80 cents tomorrow. And it's not just inflation, it is also what we call banking fees. So you've got to be very careful about what type of account you use when it comes to your emergency account. The other thing you need to make sure that you've got is accessibility, because it's not an effective emergency account if you do not have access to that money. So it can't be a fixed deposit account of like 12 months, because then you're not going to get the benefit of that account, number one, because if you need money now, it means that you need to break some rules on that fixed deposit account, which you're going to end up getting charged what is called a penalty. So make sure it's an easily accessible account where you will not incur any penalties if you do get an emergency and you need your money. That leads me to the second thing about saving. Saving is not about putting money away. Sometimes you can save simply by taking a skaftini to school, that to work or to school or to wherever. That is a way in which you can save. If you carpool with your house, I mean, I lived in a flat. I remember my friend and I used to work in the same office. We lived in the same apartment, but we would drive 2 different cars every single day to work. I mean, that made 0 sense. We had our reasons and we justified it, but it made no sense. If we had just parked 1 car, we would be able to save via carpooling. So that is another way in which you can start saving, because you can start minimizing unnecessary expenses on your bank account, right? So I've got a list. The 52 weeks challenge. Guys, the 52 weeks challenge, if you follow it to the T, it will give you 13,780 Rand, I think, at the end of the year. Because it's 52 weeks and every single week is predetermined as to how much you need to save. Now, the 52 weeks challenge is just a framework. You don't have to follow it to the T, especially if you don't have those kind of financial resources, right? So it is important that you adapt the 52 weeks challenge to your own budget. But at the same time, you've got to be very, very careful that you don't say to yourself, I can't save because I don't have money to save, because that doesn't make sense. A lot of us, we as human beings are creatures of adaptation. For instance, this house, I live in a very beautiful house, but the reality is that that niceness of the house is kind of like fizzled away. Why? Because I've adapted to the fact that this is now my house, right? So it's the same thing when it comes to the 52 weeks challenge. You literally can teach yourself to adapt. But the most important thing about it is that you need to be able to learn the principle of paying yourself first. And that is a principle that we get taught in The Richest Man in Babylon, a book that is well known to be a good guiding principle when it comes to your money management. So paying yourself first basically means that you need to go to the bank and ask them to put in a stop order. Even if it's a stop order of 100 Rand. That's why I say you need to adapt the 52 weeks challenge, because the 52 weeks challenge every single week or every single month is a different amount that you need to pay. But when it comes to a stop order, you need to put a consistent amount. So you can say, I want a stop order on my bank account to take away 200 Rand the moment money hits your account. So effectively, it's a debit order that you are imposing on yourself. So the moment your money comes in, 200 Rand will be taken out of your bank account and it will be deposited into another account that belongs to you. Just make sure that it's not the same account as where your transactional account is. So when you log into your app, you should not be able to see that account. That is just a measure, right? So this is in a way you automating how you save. There are many other ways in which you can automate how you save. There is a thing, FNB has got a thing called banking your change. It's an account that gets opened where the change that is left in your bank account gets banked. So for instance, if you use a certain amount of money, they will round off that money as your change and it will get banked. It's the same thing as if your bank doesn't have that functionality, you can actually do this yourself. It's what? I think it's called rounding off to two zeros. So every single night when you have used your bank account, what you do is you can round off to the nearest 2 zeros, or round off to 2 zeros, not even to the nearest. 2 zeros. So basically, if you, let's say, your bank balance is 355 Rand 28 cents, right? 28 cents or 28, no. Ooh, maths. You round off to the nearest 100. So if you've got 397 Rand in your account, 97 Rand can then be moved to a separate account. And what you're essentially doing is you're leaving your account every single night on a 00 at the end. So however many zeros you've got at the back, you just need to make sure that you've got 00 left. So if you've got 450 Rand, you would then bank 50 Rand and you'd be left with 400 Rand. And that is a way in which you start saving even the small amounts without realizing that you actually are saving. But again, if you are like me, out of sight, out of mind. But also remember that you can save to invest, because idle money that is sitting in your bank account is bored money, and bored money is gone money. So generally what we do as human beings is that if we leave money in our transactional accounts, we end up having something that we're going to use that money for. So it's important that you learn to save to invest. So what you could do essentially, and this is what I do a lot, is I go and I've registered with Easy Equities, and I have found that there are shares that I can buy that are less than 50 Rand, and I can just buy a bunch of them, right? And that is me saving to invest. So when I round off those amounts of monies and I put in a different bank account, or when the bank automatically banks my change, I take all that money and I go and buy myself some shares. I've also made another list. I'm just gonna open my phone to see what other things have I actually put in there. So the 4 ways in which I save. So I've got a strategy where all my additional income, I take 30% of that and I put it away specific to my financial goal, which is for me to actually buy a Mustang GT 5.0 liters, right? So that's that strategy that I'm using there. I then also zero out my numbers. So I zero out my numbers to 2. So every single time I've got a certain amount of money, I leave it as 2 zeros at the end. So if I've got 355, I will bank 55 Rand. Then on my FNB account, I have what is called Bank My Change. So automatically the bank actually rounds off my change and actually banks it, right? Then I've got a stop order in my account. I put in a stop order of 300 Rand. So the moment money comes into my bank account, 300 Rand gets saved from my stop order, right? The other thing that I do is I put away my money in a different account away from my transactional account, because out of sight for me is out of mind. Then I make sure that any amount, I don't allow money to sit in my transactional account. So my check account, if it does not earn me interest, I don't leave money in there, right? Because idle money is bored money, and bored money is gone money, because all the time you always find a way to use and spend that money. Then the last way in which I save is I save by not making unnecessary purchases and unnecessary, I don't just shop. So I won't just shop if I can find another way to be able to do that. So for instance, if my sister makes my clothes, so I won't go into a shop and open an account to make to buy clothes, because my sister does that for me. And then also I do the 52 weeks challenge, and the 52 weeks challenge money that I save, I use it at the end in December to spoil my family. So again, it's my financial goal to be able to spoil my family. So I do use the 52 weeks challenge. So if you've got any other unconventional way, we are celebrating July Savings Month in a couple of weeks. And if you've got any other unconventional ways in which you save money, please share them in the comments section.